All right, so today we're going to look at 4.1, which is solving multi-step inequalities. There's a couple things we need to review first, and those are our inequality signs, or you may have had them referred to as alligators at one point. So we have these guys. Okay, so there's the 4 inequality signs we're going to be looking at. Okay, the solving part is exactly like having an equal sign. The difference is now we get a range for our answers instead of just one number. So this first one means less than. And it's going to have an open circle because it's not equal to, it's just less than a number. The next one is greater than. And it is also going to be an open circle. That'll make more sense in a minute, but it's an open circle because it's not equal to. The next one is less than or equal to. And since it can be equal to, we're going to have a closed circle. And then the last one would be greater than or equal to. And it's also going to be a closed circle since it can be equal to. So if it's like x is greater than or equal to 4, it can be 4 or it can be anything bigger than 4 is kind of what that means. Okay, so what this is going to add on is once we get down to this, the equation being solved, we're going to have an answer that looks like this. And that answer we're going to put on a number line so that we know all of our possibilities that the answer could be. So when you make your number line, what I want you guys to do is whatever answer you get goes in the middle of the number line. And then you're going to go one smaller, the smaller number goes to the left, and one bigger, the bigger number goes to the right. From there, you look at your original problem or your original answer, and we figure out if it's a closed or open circle. Since this is a greater than sign, it's going to be an open circle at 5. Since the alligator's eating the x, okay, x is greater than 5, so we're going to shade or put an arrow going to the bigger numbers, which is to the right. Let's do another one. So if I have x is less than or equal to -2, okay, again, draw your number line. The answer goes in the middle. One smaller goes to the left. One bigger goes to the right. Be careful with your negatives. Okay, be careful with your negatives. The smaller number goes to the left. Now this one is a less than or equal to sign. So it's going to be a closed circle at 2 because it's equal to. And then the alligator's eating the 2. It's not eating the x. Remember, the alligator eats the bigger number. So x would be smaller than -2. So we shade towards the smaller numbers. Okay, I want you guys to try this next one. You're going to put on the graph x is less than 1. Go ahead and put that on a number line. Okay, so now let's actually solve some. So the first one we're going to solve, so this is number 3 technically. I want to number this a little differently, sorry. Okay, this was a U try. Sorry about that. So number 3, example together, is going to be 3x minus 7 is less than or equal to 14. Now remember, the solving is exactly the same. Don't treat the sign any differently for the solving part. So we're going to do a dotted line straight down from the what would be an equal sign, straight down from the less than or equal to sign, the inequality. And we're going to try to isolate our variable just like we did before. So here's what's attached to the variable. What else is over there with the 3x? I have a -7. What's the opposite of minus? That'd be a plus. So I'm going to add 7 to both sides. That gets rid of this guy. Leaves me with 3x is less than or equal to 21. Okay, one more step. The 3 is multiplied to the x, so I'm going to divide each side by 3. and I'm left with x is less than or equal to 7. Now we're at the point where we were up here. Now we're going to put that on a number line. So my range is x is less than or equal to 7. So my answers can be 7 and anything smaller than 7. So I'm going to put 7 in the middle of my graph. I'm going to go one smaller, one bigger, okay? Now, I want you guys to pause the video, and I want you guys to tell me if this is going to be a closed or open circle. Okay, so it's a less than or equal to, so it is a closed circle. Now, which way are we going to shade? X is less than 7, so less than would be all of those smaller numbers. Okay, next one. We're going to have 2, open your parentheses, 3x plus 5, close them, greater than or equal to 46. Okay, again, the solving, exactly the same as before. So I want you guys to go ahead and draw your dotted line down, treat it just like an equal sign, solve down for x. Okay, so what are your first step then? Anytime we have parentheses, we distribute the number in front. So we have 6x plus 10 greater than or equal to 46. Now we're solving just like we did before. Here's the variable I have to isolate. I'm going to subtract 10 from each side to get 6x is greater than or equal to 36. And then I'm going to divide each side by 6. So you should have gotten x is greater than or equal to 6. Okay, now we're going to put that on a number line. That visual sometimes helps. Okay, so 6 goes in the middle. I go one bigger, one smaller. Now closed or open circle. Greater than or equal to. Since it's equal to, we do a closed circle. And x is greater than. X is bigger than 6. So we shade to the right, which is our bigger numbers. All right, next one. We have 19 minus 2x is less than 33. Now I want you guys to pay really close attention to this one because there's a little rule that we have to remember. So on this one, as we solve down, be very careful. Okay, so I have a positive 19. To move that positive 19, I'm going to subtract it to each side, just like we did before. That gets rid of this 19. Leaves me with negative 2x on that side. 33 minus 19 is 14. Now here's where things get tricky. Anytime that you divide or multiply by a negative, you have to flip your sign. Okay? Write that somewhere in bold. When you divide or multiply, I can't spell, by a negative, you flip the sign. Very important, okay? What does that mean? That means when I divide by a negative 2 to solve for x, I get negative 7, and instead of a less than sign, I flip it to be greater than. You have to remember that rule. Anytime you multiply or divide by a negative, you have to flip the sign. All right, so now let's put it on a number line. So negative 7 goes in the middle. Now what's one less than that? One less would be negative 8. One bigger would be negative 6. Since it's a less than or a greater than sign, it's a open circle. Okay, so leave it open. That is an ugly circle. Leave it open. And x is bigger than negative 7. So we shade towards the bigger numbers, which is to the right. Okay, remember that rule. Put it in bold in your notes. All right, next one. 5x minus 7 less than or equal to 3x minus 19. Now this one has a variable on each side. The solving stays exactly the same. Okay, solving stays exactly the same. So do your dotted line down from the equal sign. We're going to get variables on one side, numbers on the other. I like to keep my letters positive, so I'm going to move my smaller x, which would be my 3x. It's a positive 3x, so I'm going to subtract 3x from each side. That leaves me with 2x minus 7 less than or equal to negative 19. And now I have a problem that looks like the problems before. I'm going to isolate that 2x. So I'm going to add 7 to both sides. Okay, and then we're going to divide. Now, I'm dividing by a positive number, so I don't have to do anything with my sign. And then we're going to put it on a number line. And so negative 6 goes in the middle. We go one smaller, one bigger. My sign is a less than or equal to, so it is a closed circle, so color it in. And x is less than, x is smaller than negative 6, so we shade to the left. Okay? All right, now the solving, we are going to include some with fractions and decimals. So I want to go over those real fast with you just to make sure that we have a good refresh on that. But again, the solving doesn't change. One of the things that I like to do is I like to get rid of my fractions if I can. So on this first one, we're just going to completely get rid of the fractions. So as soon as I see that I have a fraction, what I need to look at is my denominators. What is their least common multiple? What is a number that 3 and 6 both go into? That would be 6. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply this entire equation by 6 to just get rid of the fractions. So when I do that, I have to take this 6 and distribute it to every single thing. Okay? So when I have 6 times negative x over 6, what happens? That would give me negative 6x over 6, plus now I have 6 times 6, which is 36. Bring my sign down, 6 times 3, which is 18x. And then 6 times the 1/3 would be minus 6 over 3. Well, what happened when we multiplied by 6? This cancels, so we're left with negative x. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So now my fractions are gone, and we can solve just like normal. So do your dotted line straight down, and then solve. I'm going to move my smaller x because I like to keep my x's positive, but you don't have to. Since I have a minus x, I'm going to do plus x on both sides. Gets rid of that x. We have 36 equals 19x minus 2. I'm going to add 2 to both sides to get that variable by itself. Whoop, this is a greater than sign. And I have 38. One more step, 19 times x. I'm going to divide by 19. Okay, now this one looks a little bit different because the x is on the backward side, and that's okay. You're still going to get the same thing. The answer, the 2, goes in the middle. We go one smaller and one bigger. Your sign doesn't change. It's a greater than sign, so it's an open circle. The alligator is eating the number. That means the number is bigger, which means the x is smaller. So we can shade to the left. If you want to, you can take this and rewrite it and do x is less than 2. As long as your alligator is eating the same thing, you can write it either way, if that helps you. Okay, last one. Last one, we have 2.5x minus 3.6 greater than or equal to x plus 9.2. Okay, now remember, use a calculator. Decimals, exact same process. Do your dotted line straight down from the equal sign. We need to get our x's on one side, numbers on the other. I'm going to move my smaller x, So since this is a positive x, I'm going to subtract it. So that's gone. 2.5x minus 1x gives me 1.5x. If you need a calculator, use it. There's no harm in that. Remember, if you don't have a calculator, you can always go to Desmos. The link is on our homepage. Now I need to get the 1.5x by itself. So the negative minus 3.6 is still over there. So I'm going to add 3.6 because that's the opposite. So that's gone. I'm left with 1.5x is greater than or equal to 8.5. Whoa, that is not right. I looked at the wrong line. How about 12.8? Okay, now one more step. I have 1.5 times x, so I'm going to divide by 1.5 on both sides. That leaves me with x is greater than or equal to 8.53. So when you put that on the number line, that 8.53 is going to go in the middle. And then what you can do is just go, it doesn't matter what number you use that's smaller or bigger. So one number smaller would be 8, one bigger could be 9. Okay, you could have put a 10, 11, 12, it doesn't matter. Okay, so close or open circle, greater than or equal to. I would have a closed circle. And now I want you guys to pause the video, and I want you to tell me if I should shade left or right. Okay, so x is greater than, x is bigger, so I'm going to shade to my bigger numbers, which is to the right. Okay, as always, let your teacher know if you have any questions on any of this, and go ahead and get your homework assignment done. Have a great day.